YouTubers, it's Drew. Welcome back to my channel, California Pickin'. I have a two very special guests. Let me introduce themselves. First, the gentleman.
Hello, my name is Xavier Clemente, the protege of George Barris.
And this is?
Caroline Barris. I'm the daughter of George Barris.
And she is the daughter of the photographer George Barris, Marilyn Monroe's good friend and photographer. George Barris took the last photographs of Marilyn right out on the beach in Santa Monica that I've shown you many times in my videos. Go check that out. But I got the honor to meet these two folks here today and to talk about Marilyn and George's work. And I just have to thank you guys so much for talking to me today. And we brought up some really incredible subjects. Now, Carolyn was born after your father left.
I wish I would have been born and I had a chance to meet him. Never got that.
The country, right?
Yes, exactly.
And
I was
now
born in France.
in France after Marilyn's death.
Yes.
Okay. And now I asked Carolyn about this subject about George Barris said on Larry King's show that Marilyn had called George, you know, the weekend before she died, saying that there was something really urgent. She wanted to tell him that something was very wrong.
Yes.
And could he come back to LA?
July 18th, we finished working together. I went to New York. I was doing a big series with a big layout with a cover for a magazine called Cosmopolitan Magazine. Also, we had done this book together. I had put it all together. And on a Friday afternoon, I was in my office at the Sunday newspapers. I was a correspondent. And I get a phone call. And Marilyn Monroe is calling. This is Friday, August 4th. August 3rd, I guess, yeah. And 1962. And she wants to know how things are going. I said, fine, everything looks great, the book, I've got it all together. And she says, I've got to see you, it's very important. I says, I'm trying to put everything together, Marilyn. George, she said, it's very important. There are many things we have to talk about, and there's some things that are very, very shocking that you must know about. You must come out. She sounded very sad. I said, if you feel it's that urgent, then I'll come out. This is Friday. I'll try to get out there Monday. I'll fly out Monday. And so that weekend, I went to the country. And Sunday morning with my brother-in-law, we went to a little store to get some rolls and things. And I sat in the car listening to the radio music. And my brother-in-law went in to buy some things, and he comes running out, and he says, did you hear it on the radio? I said, what? I said, I didn't hear it, it was music. He says, I just heard on the radio in the shop, Marilyn Monroe is dead. And I turned white. I said, I can't believe it. I'm supposed to leave.
But he was shooting something for Vanity Fair or something like that, or Cosmopolitan, something like that.
Yeah, and he was in New York City, and he says he couldn't leave, but he came that Monday.
I see.
Would he be okay? And then it was too late.
Yes.
He died that weekend after.
Yes.
If he'd known, he says to this, for years, he says, if I would have gone back in time and I knew, I would have definitely gone and seen it before that. But he didn't know how urgent it was, and he had no clue. He says he wished he could have.
And what we speculate is that she was talking about what?
I'm thinking about the Kennedys. I'm thinking she was going to come out that Monday and say something, and she was being tapped. So I'm sure that they knew something was up, and I think that what happened there was no accident.
Was your dad's phone being tapped as well?
I don't know, but I do know that after she died, my father moved to France, and he says, when I asked him why, he says it's because he was being haunted by the press, and he wanted to go to France. But I think he was probably, there's a lot more going on, and he would never really go into it.
I see.
Talk about it.
I see.
I just think that he was probably afraid too, because why would you move to France?
Right.
Suddenly, right after.
Yeah, it's out of his character just to bounce out the country.
Yes.
You know, just
like that fast or something.
It is. He's been here his whole life. He works a lot in New York. He's a photographer. Why? I mean, why leave?
Exactly.
Yeah, like the Sam Giancanos were involved, the Kennedys were involved. All that triangle circle, let's say, you know, a lot of them ended up disappearing. So
Especially afterwards.
Yeah, and George was a photographer, so he took pictures of Sinatra before Frank Sinatra's Sinatra
Sure.
on Paramount, and was like intertwined with these celebrities, and was gravitated to the stars before they even became stars.
Yes.
Just like Sinatra, Steve McQueen, Marilyn. So
Charlie
he had
Chaplin.
that gift of gab to point them out.
Yeah.
So it's really out of character
Yeah,
for
he
him
was.
to leave town.
I noticed he was very private in some subjects.
Yes, it
And
seemed
in
like
those
that.
days, There was a lot going on. That was undercover, and I don't think he would talk about it.
Yes.
And to this, that he wouldn't.
To the end of his life, he didn't really.
No.
Now Xavier, he got to be very fortunate because he worked with George at the end of his life, being mentored by George. What an amazing experience!
Yeah, very lucky.
Wow.
I actually lived right across the street. Right
Oh,
now in
really?
Midvale.
Uh-huh.
And then I was working at a studio in West Hollywood, West LA, with director Dan Ireland. He actually screened a movie called Some Like It Hot.
Oh.
I watched Some Like It Hot. The following July, we have a boat party. I meet Caroline.
Really?
I'm like, something's going on here.
It's
I don't know
almost
what's
like
going on.
That's crazy.
So-
I feel like
Guiding.
I lived across the street from Marilyn's grave. Didn't realize it. A couple of weeks later, I screened the movie and then met George. And George is like, "Well, why don't we work together and do something?"
Darn.
Like, I don't know, George. I'm not really too much of a Marilyn fan, but I don't really know too much about her.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? My sisters are and all that other stuff. But
Uh-huh.
we collaborated, we sat, and we bonded. And
Darn.
In Hollywood land.
yeah.
So,
Wow.
and now in Hollywood lands everywhere. We're in Korea, New York.
Tell us what that
Italy.
is. I'll give you a plug. What's going on with that?
In Hollywood Land is basically preserving his legacy and his works with Marilyn and other, celebrities that he's worked with.
Wow.
On set, because he was commissioned by like Fox, Cosmopolitan, all the, the
we
big
just-
shots in those
right.
days.
So we gathered all that information and created in
So-
Hollywood's website also.
Nice.
These derivatives.
Right.
Sweet.
We've collaborated with artists too, with Dennis Mackay and George Perez, and we did some beautiful artwork with my dad's pictures.
Wow.
Both, limited edition autographs, things that we're selling on IHL in Hollywood Land. So it was really great because we get to do a lot of things that.
Now
when I
here's
met him, we can-
now here's the controversy. A lot of controversy. We can talk about them all, but I shown you this the secret love nest of Marilyn Monroe, JFK, RFK, which was down on the beach in Santa Monica, and I showed your father's one of the last session or the last session, professional session that Marilyn had with your father or anybody, and there's a picture of the love nest right behind Marilyn's head. And what I just asked Carolyn was, whose decision was it to go down to the Santa Monica beach and shoot right outside the Peter Lawford mansion, which is also right next door to the Samuel Goldwyn house, which is the secret love nest? And I asked Carolyn whose decision was it, and we both we both said it was Marilyn's decision.
Well, because it was Marilyn's too, and my dad's collaboration to work on the book and to tell the truth. So she, says, okay, this is what I want to do, let's do a shoot. So they all collaborated together.
Yes.
It's actually, she was speaking the truth without even saying it.
Exactly.
That's right.
She wanted to tell the truth.
Yes.
That was the whole idea of doing the book. That's why he did this long interview with her for weeks on end and asked questions. She had something to say.
Yes.
She wanted to say- And I think, like you said, she said in many more words than we expected.
And I felt very excited to tell Carolyn and Xavier that the house behind her head was the house that the affairs went on in, and that Marilyn her phone calls were not being returned by Robert Kennedy. And she was saying in that picture, hey guys, I'm sending you a message. I know you're going to see it. Wink, wink, nod, nod. This is where it happened. Isn't that amazing? And we also talked about the sweater that Marilyn was wearing, the Mexican, what's it was called?
It's like a sailor
Sweater.
Yeah.
And she was wearing this sweater because it was cold. Uh-huh. Alpaca or something, wool, it was a wool sweater.
Yes.
It recently sold at auction for some big dollars.
My
Didn't
dad,
your father give you that shirt?
Yeah,
Or she
my-
already had it?
no, I think my dad bought all those clothes.
Oh
He
my
was shopping
gosh.
that
All
day.
that stuff.
He did all the shopping.
Wow.
Because all the Poochie stuff she would wear, George would go out to Poochie in Beverly Hills and actually give it to her.
Wow. And you know, Marilyn was not a big fashion, she was not a big jewelry hound. She didn't have much jewelry at all. In fact, she would get it loaned to her. And she was pretty simple in her dresses and dressing, but you're right, she loved Poochie, that was her favorite. And I also asked Carolyn about this towel that was wrapped around Marilyn in the last photograph of her life. In some photographs it looks green, and in other photographs it looks orange or gold. And her last photograph, she was getting cold at the end of the day, and she said, George, she didn't complain all day, and then she said, George, I'm really cold. She was shivering. She said, George, can we go now? And he goes, I have one last photograph, let me just get this last photograph. And then what did Marilyn say to your father? This one's for you. And she blew him a kiss. Just how incredible that was.
And who would have known that would have been the last photo shoot?
Exactly.
He had no idea. Weeks before, that was July 13th, which was actually a Friday the 13th.
Yes.
1966.
Oh, it was.
Which is really interesting.
Whoa.
Very interesting. I just realized that.
Now, a lot of people said that Marilyn was in a great state of mood because
she was excited. She was working on all those new projects. She was. There was no
production company.
she got rehired with the $500,000 advance or a raise.
Exactly.
She was also planning to do a book with your father, from what I understand.
She was in charge of her, control of her life. There was nothing that she couldn't do.
She wasn't going to commit suicide when she made all these promises. Marilyn was very, very considerate, even though she was very late. Strong woman. She had a lot of loyalty to her friends. And George Barris was her friend, not just her photographer.
And what would he call her? What would Marilyn call her if she's ready to commit suicide? I need to meet you on Monday.
That's right.
You don't tell somebody I'm meeting you Monday and commit suicide right before.
No, you don't call him and say, no. And you don't call this guy who's your photographer and your friend and say, there's something really wrong.
Exactly.
And, and have it be like something trivial.
Right.
So it was
And so she was in a good mood, no sign of any impending...
At the beginning, we were near the Peter Lawford house, and she had many good times and sad times there. So there were little tears.
That was a good by George Barris, this picture. You don't buy any of the stories?
No, don't at all.
Does anybody?
No,
Nobody here does.
I think she committed.
The Robert Kennedy, the
I
gangster.
think she committed.
No, she OD'd. That's what she did,
OD'd.
Mickey.
With
Accidentally, OD.
Accidentally.
I don't think she took her life.
I agree. I agree.
No, she
really
didn't.
don't think she
You don't think she took the 60?
No,
No, her own life.
No.
Purposely, he
All
thought.
right, then why would she take, as Mickey points out, 60 pills, George?
that's a little
I
bit of
spoke to her
conjecture,
the
isn't it?
night before.
Right, it is.
Dead?
Well, yeah.
She wanted me to come out to see her. She said it was important. It was a Friday. I was going to come out Monday. She died that weekend. Why would she want me to come out? We're working on a book together. We have a big 10, 12-page story, plus the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine. Why would she?
It's got to be something big that you're...
Obviously, you can tell something's important, and then the fact that she died that weekend, it tells you, well, it points to like, hey, listen, something was definitely wrong.
Your dad must have been heartbroken
Oh, he
because he could have possibly
He cried to this day.
saved her.
I know. He says he was in New York City with his brother in the car, and he heard it over the radio. And he says his brother says, guess what, I just heard over the radio, and he was devastated.
Devastated.
He couldn't believe he says he was in shock. And then he goes, I
But
found
he
if I
knows
could
for
have.
sure.
Yeah. That's what he
From
knew.
his mouth, he told me she was murdered.
Of course.
There was ever no doubt in his mind.
Of course.
Oh, never.
And even at the very least, there was definitely a cover-up.
Oh, yeah. He told me about the Kennedy's affair she was having, and
That's right.
being tapped, so people don't go through all that, and then she ended up dying.
You heard it here first, skeptics. I've been telling you this for a long time. Marilyn Monroe did have an affair with John F. Kennedy and possibly Robert F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, they definitely
Yes.
did. That says both.
The story was Robert F. Kennedy came out to talk her down, to
Right.
stop calling and stop,
So she was
out of control.
Yes,
She was a scorned woman.
Yes.
And you know what they say about a scorned woman?
And she probably was going to speak at that Monday. I have a feeling
Absolutely.
she never had the opportunity. Because
Yes.
they made sure she didn't.
Wow.
Life. I'll never believe that.
So it was accidental.
No, it was murder. It was not
I
accidental.
thought you said no.
How was it murder?
You just said
Because
no.
there were many
We just asked
people
you.
involved. I don't know why she did it. Maybe if I got out to the coast, maybe I would.
Wait a minute, hold it.
helped her.
I just asked, do you think anything was wrong in her death? And you said no.
That's
You
right.
do think she was murdered?
I believe she was.
No one else.